Indigenous communities have faced historically, continue to face ongoing, and that we commit collectively to remedying those injustices. And that means a number of things, but one of those concrete steps we can take is implementing the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples. So friends, we're a day away from the election, and I want to send a message to Canadians before they go to vote. In this election, you do have a choice. We know that Canadians cannot wait 4 more years for real action on all the things that they need. Whether it's families that are waiting for help when it comes to health care, families that can't afford the medication they need, families that can't get the dental services that they need. I want to let Canadians know they shouldn't have to wait, and I know that they can't wait. These are urgent concerns. When it comes to housing, families that cannot find a place to live, they cannot wait 4 years for help. For young people and for people that are worried about the future of our planet, they cannot wait 4 years to see real action on climate justice. And that's exactly what Mr. Trudeau is going to ask you to do. He's going to ask you to wait. He has let you down. He does not deserve your vote. Mr. Trudeau has chosen very clearly to help out those at the very top, the rich and powerful corporations, over your families, and in doing so, he has hurt families across Canada. By choosing to protect the pharmaceutical industry over families that can't afford medication, he has hurt families who are struggling with that cost. By choosing to not do anything to really remedy the crisis in housing, he has hurt families. He has chosen to give $14 billion to the richest corporations in the last fall economic statement, but he has chosen to invest 19% less per GDP than the Conservative Party when it comes to housing. He has made it clear again and again that he would rather help the biggest polluters, allow them to continue to enjoy subsidies and exemptions, rather than make sure young people know that we are doing everything we can to fight the climate crisis. Mr. Trudeau does not deserve your vote. He has let you down, and he has hurt families. Mr. Scheer is not the solution. Mr. Scheer is going to cut services. He makes it very clear. He's going to cut taxes for the wealthiest and services for everyone else, and that's going to cost families much more in the long run. That is not the solution. And I want to put this to you. You do not have to choose between bad and worse. While Mr. Trudeau and Mr. Scheer are arguing about who's worse for Canada, we have been talking about who is best for Canada and what is best for Canada. And that is investing in people, not the powerful corporations. And that's what you get with New Democrats. We will deliver real action on all the things that Canadians need. We will fight hard to make sure the healthcare system is there for you when you need it. We're going to fight hard to make sure you can find a home to call your own. We're going to make sure we deliver honest action on reconciliation that works towards remedying the injustices. We are going to fight hard to bring real action on the climate justice front, because we know families deserve that. We are in it for you. We fight for you. The difference between us and the Liberals and the Conservatives is, while they want to fight about who's worse for Canada and why they continue to work for the very wealthiest and those at the very top, we are in it for you, we are fighting for you, and we are making sure that we do everything we can to put people at the heart of everything that we put forward in terms of solutions. So I ask you in this election, my friends, vote for hope, vote for something. Don't vote out of fear, and definitely don't settle for less. You deserve more, and New Democrats are going to deliver that. Dans cette élection, vous avez un choix.
In this election, you have a choice.
Que les libéraux
It's
ont
clear
laissé
that
tomber
the Liberals
les familles.
have
Ils ont
left
laissé tomber
families
les travailleurs
behind.
et
They've
travailleuses.
abandoned
Ils ont
workers.
choisi de
They have
favoriser les plus
chosen
riches,
to
et
give
ça
benefits
a
to
fait
the
mal
rich.
aux familles.
And that has hurt
Ils ont
families.
encore choisi de donner
Once
des
again,
exemptions pour les grands
they've
pollueurs.
decided to give
Ils ont
exemptions to
choisi
big polluters
de protéger les profits pour les
and
grandes entreprises
protect the
pharmaceutiques
profits
au
of the
lieu de
big
mettre en œuvre un
pharmaceuticals
programme
rather than implementing
universel
a
et public pour la
universal
science médicament.
public
Donc c'est
pharmacare
clair
program.
que les libéraux
So it's
ne
clear
méritent
that the
plus votre
Liberals
vote.
no longer
C'est aussi
deserve
clair
your
que les
vote.
conservateurs vont
And it's
couper les
also
services
clear
dont
that
vous avez besoin.
Conservatives will
Ils
cut
n'ont
the services
pas
you need.
la solution
They
pour
don't
régler les
have
problèmes
any
dans la vie des gens.
solutions when it comes
C'est
to
nous,
resolving
les
people's
néo-démocrates,
problems.
le
It
choix
is us,
progressiste.
New
Si vous voulez
Democrats,
quelqu'un
that
qui va se
represent the
battre pour vous,
progressive
pour lutter
choice.
contre
If
la
you
crise
want someone to
climatique,
fight
pour
for
rendre la
you,
vie plus
to fight
abordable
climate
et
change and
pour
make life more
s'assurer que le plus
affordable,
riche paye le
and
juste
ensure
part,
that the rich
c'est
pay
nous,
their
les
fair share,
néo-démocrates.
it is us, the New
Et
Democrats. Democrats
fait,
who will do
on peut,
that.
c'est nous
And
qui
in
peut
fact,
travailler
we are the
ensemble
ones
avec le
who
reste du
will be able
Canada,
to work
qui
with the
peut
rest of
unir
Canada.
les
We
progressistes au
can
Québec
unite
avec les
progressives
progressistes
in
au reste du
Quebec with
Canada,
progressives
pour
in the
travailler
rest of
ensemble
Canada
pour mettre en
and
œuvre
work
les
together
programmes et les
to
services, les
implement the
politiques
programs,
pour aider la vie,
services and
augmenter
policies
la vie des
that
gens.
will help
C'est
people
nous,
and
les
improve their
démocrates
quality of life.
qui se battent
We,
pour
the
vous.
New Democrats,
Then
are here to
again, once
fight
again,
for you.
friends, I want you to know that in this election, you can vote for hope. You can vote for something. New Democrats will fight for you. At the end of the day, I want this to also be clear. Tomorrow, I'm hoping to become your Prime Minister. I want to fight hard for you. I want to develop a future that's bright for Canadians. But either way, whatever Canadians choose, I want Canadians to win. And I put it to you this way. If you elect enough New Democrats, we will form government and put in place all of our commitments. But if you elect enough New Democrats, we will fight hard to make sure that these priorities are realized. Vote New Democrat. We beat Conservatives. New Democrats beat Conservative governments. New Democrats fight for you. Thank you so much, and I'm ready to take your questions.
Toronto Star. Throughout the campaign, you've, as you just did, again, accused the Liberals and Conservatives of being like beholden to the interests of the rich. You've said the system, we have a rigged system against most people. And there's sort of the consensus that this has been a very divisive campaign. I wonder if you think that your language throughout the campaign has contributed to this divisiveness.
I think it's important for Canadians to have a contrast and to know that there's choices in this election. And it's just the fact that Mr. Trudeau has chosen again and again to help out those at the very top, the powerful corporations, over families. He's chosen to do that, and he's let families down. The Conservatives aren't going to make things any better. They have made it clear that they're going to cut services that families depend on. I made it clear that those choices are bad choices, and I made it clear what their priorities are, and that our choices are different. New Democrats are in it for people. We're going to fight for people. We're not going to work for the richest corporations. We're going to work for you. And I think that's important for Canadians to know, to be able to make a choice tomorrow. The New Democrats are in it for you, and we're fighting for you.
And just on decriminalizing drugs, can you be more specific? I've never heard you be specific about which drugs would be decriminalized and how that would work. Is it about safe supply? Just what is your vision about decriminalizing drugs, and which drugs are you talking about?
Sure, our vision is this. When it comes to people that are dealing with addictions, that are dealing with mental health, that are dealing with poverty, that are in a current system criminalized because of their struggles, when they're using personal use of illicit substances, they're using that because of various reasons, but those people that are users are not benefited from the criminal justice response. They need compassion. If we want to save lives, it's very clear the current approach has not worked. And while Liberals have given up on families, have not declared a national public health emergency, Conservatives don't think it's their job to. We believe in taking care of people. We want to save lives, and to save lives, we know we've got to take a different approach, and that's a compassionate approach. That's a healthcare response to people that are dealing with mental health, addiction, or poverty. That's what we want to do.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Hannah Thibodeau, CBC News.
Hi.
I'd like to ask you about how you feel emotionally today, not about policy, just emotionally on this final day.
I feel really overwhelmed and honored by all the incredible outpouring of support. I feel honored that we've been able to run a campaign that has put people at the heart of it. And people have asked me lots of questions about this campaign. I think this campaign has really been about people, and it's been about their voices being heard. I've heard from people who tell me their stories about not being able to find housing, their stories about not having healthcare when they need it, young people that are worried about the environment. And this campaign has really been about letting their voices be heard, letting their struggles, their worries, their fears be heard, but also to give them hope that we can choose a brighter way forward. And that's why I'm overwhelmed with all the love that we've been receiving, because we've been really making this about people, and people are feeling it. And that, to me, is the greatest success. Dans cette campagne,
In
je
this
suis
campaign,
vraiment honoré.
I have to say I
Parce
have
que
been
ce qu'on a
honored
voulu faire
because
pendant toute la
what we
campagne,
wanted to
c'était
do throughout the
d'utiliser la
campaign
campagne pour
is use this
donner une voix aux
campaign
gens
to give a
qui
voice to
se
people,
sentent comme laisse tomber,
people who feel
les
they've
gens
been
qui
abandoned,
se sentent qu'ils n'ont pas une
or
voix.
people who
Et
feel
pour
they have
moi,
no
ça,
voice.
c'est pourquoi je suis
And
tellement honoré,
that's the
parce que
reason
je
why
pense
I'm so
qu'on a
honored,
réussi
because I
à
think
donner
we
une
have
voix,
succeeded
donner une
in giving
plateforme
them
aux
a
gens.
voice and giving a
Et ça, c'est
platform
pourquoi
to
aussi
people.
on a reçu beaucoup d'amour
That's also the
des
reason why
Canadiens,
we've
Canadiennes,
received
parce
so much love
qu'ils-
from Canadians,
ils se retrouvent dans notre campagne.
because
Et pour
they
moi,
see,
c'est un
they
grand
see
fierté
themselves
qu'on a-
reflected in our
on a
campaign.
atteint,
And that's a great source of
on a
pride
atteint cet
for
résultat.
me, and I'm so glad we've achieved that result.
British Columbia in particular, there are very tight races here. The Liberals and Conservatives and Elizabeth May are all campaigning in British Columbia on the final day, something I really haven't seen before, all leaders here. They're going to be doing, though, the Liberals and Conservatives, about 3 times more events. Do you feel like you're being outpaced here in this very tight race on the final day?
No, not at all. We've made a really clear message to Canadians that they can choose to vote for hope, that they don't have to fall into the discussion or argument about who's worse for Canada, and we are giving Canadians a real option here. We have a campaign that has been driven by people and has shown folks the real alternative: investments in healthcare, fighting the climate crisis like we want to win it, making sure we make the richest Canadians and corporations, those at the very, very, very top, pay their fair share. People know what they get with New Democrats, and I'm proud of the campaign that we've run.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, Christian Noël de Radio-Canada.
Bonjour.
Pour faire un suivi à la question d'Anna,
Radio-Canada, I want
vous
to follow
avez
up on
beaucoup
Anna's
moins
question.
d'événements en
You have a
Colombie-Britannique
lot
aujourd'hui
fewer
que
events
les
in British
autres.
Columbia than
Est-ce
the
que c'est parce
others.
que vous n'avez pas
Is it
assez d'argent
because you
ou
don't
est-ce
have
que, au
enough
contraire, vous
money,
avez
or on
abandonné?
the contrary,
Non,
did you
pas
just
du tout.
decide to forget it?
Ce qu'on a
No,
vu
no, not
avec,
at all.
le momentum qui
With
qui
the momentum,
on a bâti avec le
we
momentum
were
qu'on a
able
bâti,
to create.
c'est complètement l'autre
It's
cas. On a beaucoup
completely the
d'énergie,
opposite. We have a
mais
lot of
on a
energy,
fait notre argument. C'est
and
clair,
we've
pour
made
les
our
Canadiens,
arguments.
Canadiennes
It's
que
clear
le
to
choix
Canadians
progressiste, c'est
what
nous.
the progressive
On
choice
peut
is.
travailler
It's clear
ensemble
that
avec
it is
les autres.
us,
On peut
and
travailler
we can work together
ensemble
with
avec les
others. We
progressistes
can
au
work with
Canada
other
et
progressives in
unir les
Canada and
progressistes du
unite
Québec
progressives
pour bâtir
in
une
Quebec
meilleure société.
to
C'est
build a
exactement
better
ce qu'on peut
society.
faire.
That's
Et on a
exactly what
montré
we
ça
can
pendant
do,
cette campagne
and we have
aujourd'hui
shown
aussi.
that during the
C'est votre
campaign.
dernière journée.
This is your last day
Vous
of
arrêtez de faire
campaigning.
campagne à 3 heures
You
heure
will
du
be
Pacifique.
stopping
Vous
campaigning
prenez
at
une pause.
3 p.m.
Pourquoi pas continuer
Pacific
le plus tard
time?
possible?
Why not
Pourquoi
continue and
arrêter
go
à
as
3
late
heures?
as possible? Why stop
On
at
a
3
fait
p.m.?
notre travail de
Well,
montrer
we've done
que
our
les
job.
libéraux,
We have shown
ils ne
that
méritent
the
plus votre
Liberals
vote.
no longer
Ils ont laissé
deserve your
tomber les
vote.
gens,
They
et
have
les gens sont
abandoned
déçus.
people. People are
Et on sait que
disappointed.
les conservateurs
And we
vont
know
couper
that
les
the
services.
Conservatives are going
Donc,
to cut
c'est
services.
clair, le choix
So
progressiste, c'est
the
nous, les
progressive
néo-démocrates.
choice
On va
is
bâtir
clear.
une
It is the
société plus juste
NDP.
et on est
We are
fiers de
going to
notre
build
travail.
a fair and better society. So we've done our job.
We've done a really, we've worked really hard to show Canadians that you have a choice in this election, that while Liberals have let you down and haven't delivered on the things that you need, haven't delivered on pharmacare or healthcare investments, and Conservatives are going to cut the services you need, you do not have to choose between those two. New Democrats are here for you. We're going to fight for you. And we've ran a campaign based on the stories of people and their struggles and the hope for a brighter future.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Janice Dixon, Globe and Mail. What's your message to sort of the naysayers out there who wrote off your campaign before it even began?
Well, I mean, that's something that I've dealt with my whole life, so I was not worried by that. I also know that a lot of Canadians go through that, right? They face barriers or they face naysayers based on who they are, based on their sexuality, their gender, the color of their skin, the way they look, and they're told that they can't achieve things. And I hope Canadians can see in me a little bit of themselves and a little bit of the struggles that they faced, and that's what you do. When you're up against a lot of negativity, you keep on pushing forward. My mom always gave me a saying, Chardi Kala, rising spirits, and I always channel that in all I do, and I do that because Canadians need us and depend on us.
And looking back at the campaign, what's something that you think your campaign or you could have done differently? What's a regret you might have?
I don't know. I don't really have any regrets. We ran a campaign that was true to who I am, and that always feels good. It was based on people, which is the only reason why we're in this, and it has been about really giving people hope, and folks have felt that. A lot of people come up to me and tell me, you know what, I feel hope again. I feel like there's someone out there that's fighting for me, and that to me has been one of my greatest honors.
Hi, Mr. Singh. Kevin Gallagher with CTV News. Going into this election, climate change in many polls was the most important issue for voters. But Canadians now, having listened to not just you, but all of the leaders debate these issues, and really along partisan lines trying to score political points, how do you think Canadians should feel about any future that Canada has to fight climate change?
Well, if you vote New Democrats, you should feel very proud of that future and very hopeful for that future, because we're going to fight for you. And we're going to fight for you not just on making sure we give a bright future for young people and make sure that we fight with everything we have to protect our air and our land and our water, but also know that New Democrats are going to make sure that people have housing and health care and justice in their lives. And I think that there's a lot to be hopeful for, particularly if you got New Democrats fighting for you.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Yesterday, you responded to a protester on the liquid natural gas pipeline in BC, and your response right away was, you want a future where there are no fossil fuels. We've asked you for specifics on many issues, and today, again, I will ask you, what is a specific plan? Do you have timelines that you envision for reducing fossil fuels? Do you have a strategy where for oil and gas workers, but also it's a huge sector of Canada's economy, and to eliminate it would be devastating. And there are lots of other products that oil provide, plastics, that sort of thing. So what are some specific measures that you would envision and the next government of Canada would have to do to reach that goal of not relying on fossil fuels?
Sure. So to be clear, I believe that the future, not just for Canada, but for the world, is a future where we're not burning carbon for energy, where we're not using fossil fuel for energy. And that's a future I want to achieve. While Mr. Trudeau promised to do certain things, he let Canadians down. He promised to end fossil fuel subsidies. I think that's one of the first starting points, a concrete starting point, that none of our public dollars should be going towards the fossil fuel sector. We should not be subsidizing that sector. What we should be doing is investing in clean and renewable energy. So that's one concrete step. While Mr. Scheer doesn't understand the gravity of the problem, and Mr. Trudeau likes to give pretty words, New Democrats, when we have our voices, are committed to a real concrete step forward, which is to end fossil fuel subsidies. There's a host of other measures, but that's one concrete thing we can do to start us down the path to a future where we are using renewable and clean energy.
Bonjour, Monsieur Singh, François Cormier, TVA.
TVA,
Vous parlez
good
d'un
morning,
momentum
Mr.
à
Singh.
travers le pays.
You talked about momentum right across the country. Do you think you have the same momentum in Quebec, or did you let the ball drop in Quebec? Well, in Quebec, we have also seen quite a lot of momentum. We had a rally in Montreal with a lot of people. And it was really full of energy, and we were proud of the response. We also showed Quebec with our Quebec team that if you want a progressive choice, it is clear that the progressives are us, because we are the ones with a plan to address the climate crisis, make life more affordable, and make the rich pay. At the same time, we can work with others right across Canada. To address the climate crisis, we have to work together with the rest of Canada, and we, as New Democrats, can do that.
Sure. We've seen great momentum in Quebec with our recent rally. We had a massive turnout, and we saw a lot of energy and a lot of excitement in Quebec and in Montreal, across Quebec. And we also made it really clear for progressive voters in Quebec, if you want someone who's going to make life more affordable, who's going to make sure we tackle the climate crisis like we want to win it, who's going to make the richest Canadians pay their fair share, and who's able to work with the rest of Canada to realize these things, it's us, the New Democrats, that can do it.
Monsieur Horgan, il y a
Mr. Horgan, 2 days ago, was saying that you should embrace the idea of a minority government, that is a good thing, that it helps people. Do you share that idea? Would a minority government be a good thing, or is it necessary to have a more stable government, a majority government? Yes, it's a good thing.
Mais en fait, c'est bon parce
No,
que
it's true. It's a good thing,
libéraux,
because
ils ont laissé tomber les
the
gens,
liberals have
ils
abandoned
ne méritent
people,
plus le vote
and they
des
don't
gens.
deserve
Et
people's
ce
vote.
qu'on a vu, si on donne une majorité aux
What
libéraux,
we see,
ils
if we
brisent
give the
les
liberals a
promesses, ils
majority,
favorisent
is
les
that
plus
they
riches.
break their
Et nous, les
promises,
néo-démocrates,
they give
si vous
benefits to
avez
the rich,
plus de
and
néo-démocrates,
if there are
on
more
va
New
se battre pour
Democrats
vous.
there,
On
we
va
will fight for
travailler
people.
pour
We will work for
on
them.
favorise les gens, pas
We
les
are
plus
in
riches.
favor of helping people,
on
not the
ne donne
rich.
pas des exemptions aux
We
grands
don't
pollueurs.
give exemptions to the big polluters. We ensure that that they
Donc,
pay
c'est
their
les
fair share.
néo-démocrates
So
qui
it's New
forcent
Democrats
des
that will
gouvernements
force
d'être
a
plus
government to
progressistes.
be
Donc,
more
oui,
progressive.
bien sûr,
So yes,
je
of
veux
course,
être le Premier
I
ministre
want
du
to be
Canada
the Prime Minister of
pour rendre
Canada
la vie plus
to
abordable,
make
pour
life
faire
more
face à la crise
affordable
climatique.
and
Mais
to
en
address
fait,
the climate
n'importe
crisis.
peu importe la
But
décision des Canadiens,
whatever
Canadiennes, peu importe
decision
les décisions des
Canadians
Québécois et
make,
Québécoises,
whatever decision
avec plus de
Quebecers make,
néo-démocrates,
with more New
vous avez un
Democrats,
allié,
you
vous
will
avez
have an
quelqu'un qui va
ally,
se
you will
battre
have
pour vous.
someone there who will fight for you.
Sure. Back. Yes. I got caught up in the moment. I was saying lots of stuff that, yes, I absolutely think that, so roll back a bit. I want to be the Prime Minister of Canada because I believe New Democrats are going to make life better for Canadians and we're going to fight the climate crisis like we want to win it. But Mr. Premier Horgan pointed out that minorities are a good thing. Yes, they are. We know that Liberals do not deserve a majority. They do not deserve your vote because they've let you down. And if Liberals have a majority again, they're not going to deliver on the things that you need. They've broken their promises. They've shown that they'll talk a good game during the election, but when they get into government, they don't deliver. And they're going to continue to exempt the biggest polluters. They're going to continue to subsidize the oil and gas sector. So yes, the more New Democrats you elect in this election, you're going to have someone on your side that's going to actually deliver the change that you need. And that's why the Conservatives are not the option. They're going to cut your services. The Liberals have let you down. Vote enough New Democrats and we'll form government, but vote enough of us either way and we're going to make sure that your life is better.
Good morning, Mr. Singh. Teresa Wright from the Canadian Press.
Hi.
I would like to ask you about, the fact that you've been appealing to youth voters, young people. Can you just explain what your strategy is there and also how important the youth vote is to your electoral success?
Everyone's important, right? We need to make sure that everyone feels engaged in politics, everyone feels engaged in decision making. And young people have often been ignored and have often been kind of put to the side. And one of the things that I realized throughout our campaign and throughout my life is that you've got to speak to people where they are. And wherever they are, if you can speak to them and find them and you have a message that can actually make their life better, then use that platform. And so for me, it's been an important thing because young people have so much passion and energy, and they can do so much if they're activated and engaged. And for me, it's been really important to make sure young people are engaged, that they do feel like they matter. And speaking to people where they are is a way of saying, hey, I respect you, I value you, and I want your input, and I want you to be involved. And that's been really important for us.
I also you touched on this in your opening remarks in terms of divisions that have, sort of come to play in this election campaign, and not just in terms of political parties, in their political messaging, but also issues relating to the different regions of the country, and perhaps how the political leaders have been appealing to those regions, and perhaps at the expense of national unity. I would like to know, after this election, if you become Prime Minister, or even if not, what would you do? What specific thing would you do to try to address that and to try to unite the country?
I think it's a very, very important question, and I want to take some time just to reflect on that. I think when it comes down to divisions, I think divisions are inflamed when people are insecure or afraid. And economic insecurity breeds divisions. So when people are stable in their lives, have a good job that pays for all their necessities, where they can live a good life and take care of their kids and their families, they can afford their bills, there's good health care for them, people are more secure and will not be divided. And so the division we're seeing, I believe, is a result of economic insecurity. The fact that more than half of Canadians report that they are in a really tough way, that they're just on the edge of not being able to pay their bills, and that they're worried about the future. And all these worries and fears create divisions, or worries and fears allow others to come in and to divide us based on things that are not the reason for the problems, where Conservatives will come in and blame new Canadians or blame refugees. It's not the fault of a young refugee woman or a man breaking his back, working overtime, that people cannot find housing. It's because Conservative and Liberal governments have chosen for the past 3 decades not to spend any federal money in building affordable housing. We are here today because Liberal and Conservative governments have favored the wealthy and powerful over families, given them massive exemptions and tax loopholes and offshore tax havens. It's because of those decisions that we're here. And I believe we can build a unified country if people see justice in their lives, if they see affordability in their lives, if they see childcare and healthcare system and housing that is affordable, that is there for them, we can build a better country.
Ashley Burr, City News. If it came down to it, though, would you prop up a minority government?
I've said I'm open to working with anyone except for the Conservatives. And I don't want to predict what's going to happen, but I can tell Canadians this. If you elect enough New Democrats, we're going to fight for you. Whatever the form Canadians give us, whatever the platform they give us, we are going to fight for you on our priorities, on the priorities of Canadians, and we are open to any formulation, whatever Canadians choose. You can count on us to be there for you. Thank you so much, everybody. Merci beaucoup. Oh, did you want one? We got that. Merci. Sorry, James.
Monsieur Blanchet, hier, avait un grand rassemblement. Il a parlé de
Yesterday,
souveraineté,
Mr.
souveraineté,
Blanchet
souveraineté. dont on
had
n'a
a
pas
big
vraiment
rally and
entendu
talked
parler
about
durant la
sovereignty,
campagne.
sovereignty, which he didn't
Quel genre
discuss during the
d'effet ça risque
campaign.
d'avoir au Québec?
What
Et
kind of
deux,
effect will this have
seriez-vous
on
prêt à
Quebec?
travailler dans un
And
gouvernement
would you be
minoritaire qui inclut un
prepared
bloc
to work
souverainiste?
with a minority government that
pour moi,
includes
c'est
sovereignists?
important de montrer
Well,
que
for me,
les
it's
blocs,
important
ils
to
ont
show
déjà
that
dit
the bloc
qu'ils ne
has
veulent pas travailler
already
avec les
said
autres
that they
et ils
won't
ne
work
peuvent
with
pas
others
travailler
and they
avec les autres.
cannot work with
Nous,
others.
Nous sommes le choix
We
progressiste.
are the progressive
On est
choice.
prêt de travailler avec
We
les
are
autres.
prepared
On est
to
prêt
work
de
with
travailler
others.
et rassembler
We are
les
prepared
progressistes
to
au
unite
Canada avec les
progressives all
progressistes
across
au
Canada
Québec
and
pour
progressives
ensemble
in
bâtir
Quebec
une meilleure
so that
société,
together
un
we can
meilleur
build a
monde.
better society and a better world.
Donc, je pense que, en
Well,
fait, la réponse c'est
I think
qu'ils ont
the
déjà
answer
dit
is
qu'ils ne
that
veulent
they've
pas travailler
already
avec les
said
autres.
that they don't want to work with others.
Moi, je suis prêt, bien sûr,
I'm
de
ready.
travailler
Of
avec tout
course,
le
I'm
monde
ready
pour
to work with
bâtir une
everyone
meilleure
to
société,
build a better
sauf
society,
les conservateurs.
except
Mais les
with the
blocs ont déjà
conservatives.
dit
But the bloc has
qu'ils ne
said in
veulent
the
pas
past
travailler
that
avec
they
les autres,
don't want
ils
to
ne
work
peuvent
with
pas travailler
others
avec les
and
autres.
they can't work with others.
Sure. To put it really clearly, the bloc have made it clear that they do not want to and that they effectively cannot work with others. So in Quebec, if you want someone that's going to fight for you and that's going to be able to bring together progressives around Canada, the option is New Democrats. We are going to fight to build a better future, and we can work together with everyone.
What does that mean, though, the projections of the size of the bloc that have in the House is a significant part of the House of Commons that, according to Mr. Blanchet, will be looking after, the priorities of Quebec sovereignty.
So I say to Quebecers, if you want someone that's going to fight climate crisis, it can't be the bloc because they're not going to be able to work with the rest of Canada. We want to deliver real action on making sure we clamp down on offshore tax havens and making life more affordable. You need to have someone that's going to work together with everyone. That's New Democrats. It's not going to be the bloc. Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much. Thank you.